Hi everyone, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Peter Llewellyn. I run the services at medcommsnetworking.com. So if you haven't been to have a look, you'll find resources, activities, services for the global medcoms community, by which I mean people who work in and around medical communications, medical education, medical publishing, the global community of medcoms specialists, and indeed those people who want to join medcoms. This week we've had a MedComms Forum, which was an open Zoom meeting, which talked about home working in medcoms, all sorts of different aspects of home working. Obviously, we're talking to you at the end of what has been a crazy year for everyone. This is December 2020. We've all had to go back home at various stages and adapt to different ways of working. So we pulled together this week on the 16th of December, a group of people from the industry who talked us through their perspectives on how the work has gone. You'll find the whole recording at NetworkPharma TV, but it is a hefty 2 hours of video. It's well worth watching if you can, because the presentations all complement each other quite nicely. But we've taken each of the presentations, split them up, and provided them individually in this way. So thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoy. Cheers.
I'm now going to call on Karina. Karina is from Lucid, and she is going to tell us a little bit from an HR perspective. She's going to tell us a little bit about employee well-being in the time of a global pandemic. Karina, I think it's fair to say that you have a particular interest in staff welfare, and this whole topic is quite close to your heart. So I know from our conversations in preparation for this event that you know, this is something that you would like to forward and advance and contribute to. So over to you, Karina.
Absolutely, thank you for that introduction, Steve. And hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be part of today's event. Just such an amazing opportunity to learn, discuss things. You know, these matters are so important given what has happened this year. So what I wanted to do today is to share some of Lucid's experiences, and in particular some of the solutions that we have implemented to address some of the dilemmas, questions that we've already been raising so many times in the last hour or so. And all of this will be, like Stephen said, from a perspective of a human resources professional, very much tying into that entire conversation about well-being, because if we want to talk about better home working, effective home working, we do have to consider this broader picture, which is just well-being of the human being in general. So what I'm going to do, so this is yet another whistle-stop tour of the topics that you can hopefully see the summary of the agenda on this slide. Any questions, discussion, of course, I'm very open to answer questions and discuss afterwards what I'm presenting, what I'm saying to you today. So to start with, in terms of that broader context, employee wellness, including supporting a flexible working culture and home working in particular, has actually been a strategic focus of our business plan long before COVID struck. The pandemic has basically elevated that focus and enabled us to kind of really, to really prioritize those ambitions. So this year we have formally launched a dedicated wellbeing brand, which we have called Lucid Being, which is our formal commitment, if you like, to building a truly wellbeing focused culture, under which a wide variety of our wellness inspired policies, practices and activities are organized. And just like we go about any other people plans initiatives that we roll out, that we look into, to make sure what we implement is actually effective, employee voice is very central to shaping Lucid Being's agenda. And what this little diagram here on this slide summarizes is basically that ongoing cycle of feedback and its impact on our people strategy. So that includes our wellness strategy as well. Importantly, as you can see, that a key element of this cycle is having the input of our wonderful team of wellbeing champions from across the business, effectively a group of employee representatives who are passionate about wellbeing and who are passionate about driving those wellness activities and wellness agenda in general. So other key channels of feedback that we have implemented that are worth mentioning are Wellness Wellometer, which is effectively a team-based tool of opening up those wellness conversations and seeking solutions in a teamwork setting. Or a second key tool, which offers a kind of a more personalized look. It's a personalized tool of enabling wellness conversations in a one-to-one setting between an employee and a line manager. It's Lucid Discs. This is just a couple of measures, channels of feedback that we have implemented this year to drive these conversations. Okay, and very quickly, so this is a quick, very brief summary of some of the Lucid Being activity that we have seen this year. I'm saying briefly because we actually have done much more than this, and I have to say again, the pandemic has really elevated that focus on well-being and development of our agenda and program under Lucid Being umbrella. Okay, so having had a look at that context, so how does all of it translated into creating that great home working experience for our employees this year, or that better home working experience, if you like? So here's a glimpse into the Lucid experience. So the first very practical challenge we have faced, which has been mentioned more than once already during today, has been scaling up already existing agile working policy that we have implemented a couple of years back formally. So at Lucid, again, we've already had an established flexible working culture with a lot of home-based staff dotted around the UK. And as you might know, in 2019, to kind of further drive this, we've opened a hot desk / collaboration focused Middlesex House office headquarters in Fitzrovia, London. This year, the challenge was though that basically what was choice for many to work from home and collaborate from office as and when needed has become a necessity literally overnight for all staff. So when that disaster struck in March, effective remote tech support, including health and safety, became one of our #1 priorities. So with short-term prioritization of essential hardware, software, and workstation needs being addressed first and foremost. And because we foresee this new way of working is largely here to stay, our long-term vision is actually to transform these traditionally office-based resources and processes into a sustainable home-based infrastructure, or that hybrid model that that term has come up a couple of times during today's presentations as well. And we actually are delighted as well to have just hired our first in-house IT director, who will be very key to driving this agenda. So the second big ticket item on that transformation journey we have gone through has been how our practices around work-life balance have evolved for us this year. So overwhelmingly, and I think that is actually, I'm kind of glad this is also reflected in Tim's paper. Overwhelmingly, our employees really enjoyed working from home, being able to be more in control of their time, not having to commute, being able to essentially flex their hours based completely on their own work calendars, combined with home needs, and prominently this year, having to homeschool or due to childcare needs. And it's important to say that to make this work, what really mattered to us and what we tried to foster was that mutual trust between employees and the employer to really make this work. And it's been largely overwhelmingly a success, like I have said. So interestingly, and that's something Tim mentioned as well, says the boundaries between home and work life can often get blurry if you work from home every day, and especially if you don't have much experience at doing it. As a result, we've decided to provide our workforce with a couple of educational webinars on effective home working back in April through a wellbeing and resilience solutions company called Feel Good Co. So moving on to the next item, which is homeschooling. Just a little bit about that. So this has in fact become a key pressure point for many to actually be able to maintain this work balance we talk about. The stresses of homeschooling have, I guess, led us to set up our first group-wide, fully employee-led, family-friendly online community called Lucid which has been basically a tremendous success. It helped us to foster this connection, mutual support between parents, and has in fact sparked a lot of useful conversations about our family-friendly offer altogether and what we can do in the future to make that family-friendly experience at Lucid even better. So moving on to a very important aspect of working from home and the pandemic in general, which is mental health. A significant and unique challenge that we faced this year, and I think it's very important to remember that when we talk about better home working, because I think that piece of research Tim has done is definitely affected by the fact that we are in a pandemic setting as opposed to a so-called normal setting when people work from home but have access to the normal ways of functioning in the world. So social isolation is definitely a very unique aspect of what everyone has gone through this year, and it has been exacerbated by the fact that we are stuck at home all the time. We don't even have access to our colleagues in a normal way. So at Lucid, we've been very passionate about tackling those feelings of loneliness and isolation. So we have had quite a few initiatives rolled out in this space. So to start with, Positivity is an initiative that we've rolled out very early on during the pandemic to really encourage employees to reach out to each other for those quick chats for non-work related reasons over Zoom or phone, effectively to kind of to replicate those water cooler moments that just didn't get any exposure to this year in offices. During the summertime, so we have implemented a number of so-called summer initiatives, but a key one within this context has been Picnic for Six. So when lockdown restrictions were loosened up a little, we encouraged our teams to meet in socially distanced, safe settings for picnics, which were fully paid by Lucid, just to again encourage a little bit more of that interaction we all very much crave this year. And this year we have also, the first time ever, we have trained a team of mental health first aiders, including myself, across the business. So pretty much every single team within our business has an access to mental health support through someone who is fully accredited and knows how to, provide that first aid as and when needed. And finally, something that has been mega popular in the business as well, we talk about social isolation. However, on the flip side, some of our employees were actually complaining about too many Zoom meetings, too much pressure to do with being on video calls all the time, not having a time, to really get that lunch or just get that break during the day in between meetings. So to kind of help people to enable them to work without those Zoom video call interactions and interruptions, we have set up an initiative called Free Up Fridays, which in essence enables people once in a while to have a green light from the company, not to have to, well, basically not to feel like they need to participate in any internal meetings or calls or interactions for one afternoon, so that they could just get stuck in their, whether it's their emails or a project they've been trying to get through without having to be, again, in meetings all the time. So culture. So if you look at the bottom of the slide, in the middle, how did we maintain our culture? So this is a very important aspect of how to make your, how to keep on people feeling connected to your values, to the mission and vision, and just culture altogether. When they're working from home and they are physically away from their fellow employees, and those connections are not naturally maintained. It's much harder to maintain them in remote settings. So we have, as a result of what's happened this year, we have completely revamped, if you like, how we go about communications, how we go about engagement. I mean, there's so many things that we have done, but to name a few examples of what we have actually done, we have established regular group team briefings, fully virtual group team briefings. We have also appointed an engagement manager to help us lead on those initiatives now and in the future. And finally, oh, sorry, a little bit too quick. I always like to say finally that, we don't know what we don't know. We are in such unprecedented circumstances. It is very important to listen to what your staff has to say. So I'm going back to what I've said about employee voice, especially because we've never been in this situation before. So it is important to really make sure that anything that you implement and shape within your organization, whether it's now during lockdown or whether that's going to be in the future, you have to listen to your staff and set up channels via which they feel comfortable to feed back to you, so that you can use that to shape your agenda of the future. And to wrap it all up, I'm very conscious of time. Just a few reflections as to what I see as the future coming out of this very unprecedented year of changes across society and workplaces. So, and that's something I said at the very beginning. I think when you talk about better home working, you have to talk about it in the context of well-being altogether. And what you need to do is to, this year is actually a great opportunity to set up those fundamentals around a long-term sustainable employee vision, well-being vision, feeding into actually all the people practices, because they are all very much interlinked. Secondly, the home working evolution or revolution, however you want to refer to it, we've got to think about it as an extension of what has been happening already. Like the pandemic has sped up the process of home working becoming more prevalent, well, more important, and not just in MedComms, but in industries across the board, well, various industries. So I think what the pandemic has shown, I think certainly in the context of what we have achieved at Lucid, what we have seen at Lucid, is that working remotely can work. It is mission possible, and in fact, I think it will be very central to remaining competitive in our industry. Thirdly, I think the pandemic is an amazing opportunity to look at our talent pools. We have a notoriously, as we know, small talent pool when it comes to talent attraction and talent retention for us HR professionals. This is always a bit of the dilemma and how to manage this talent pool best, so that the best talent stays with us and the best talent wants to join us. So if we think about remote working, I think the pandemic has opened up some questions around how about hiring talent in other countries. If people work remotely effectively, it doesn't matter where they're based. Can we hire more flexibly? Can we hire in other time zones? Would that work? And if so, isn't that an amazing opportunity to widen up this talent pool? And finally, you've got to think about the practical stuff. So all the admin that goes in the background. So we've had a lot of questions around what does it mean for my contract? I actually like working remotely. I want to work from home more regularly. So to tackle these issues or questions, we've got to think about the work location in particular and working hours, clauses and contracts. So something we've looked at Lucid was to kind of convert that work location clause to basically say what the employee's designated office location is, as opposed to the permanent work office, if that makes sense, to kind of create that expectation that the office will become kind of this collaboration space, as opposed to space where you have to be every day. And flexible working hours is something that we have actually done much earlier, and that was prior to the pandemic kicking off. Our employees are contracted to a set amount of working hours, but it actually doesn't really matter to us as much as to when they will do those hours. There are no set start times and end times to anyone's day. It's about just making sure that you do the work that you're expected to do. It doesn't matter to us as much when you're going to do it. And finally, that's something that is very important as well, and that's been a massive challenge. I'm not going to lie, at the beginning of the pandemic, there are questions around how do you scale up that remote tech support if you were an organization which expected people to work from the office more often than from home. Obviously, that infrastructure needs to be looked at, and how do you set up an infrastructure where there is more focus on working from home and supporting people with regards to IT equipment, of software, or chairs, you name it, health and safety and the like. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for signing in and listening to what we wanted to share, and I look forward to questions and a discussion later on.
Karina, thank you very much. Gosh, lots of information in there. Very grateful for your clear presentation. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said, that was just one presentation from what was an excellent afternoon on the 16th of December 2020, when we came together for a MedComms Forum to talk about home working in MedComms. You will find the other presentations and indeed the full presentation, the full recording of the whole afternoon, about a 2-hour video over at NetworkPharma TV. Well worth watching. You'll find lots of practical tips and useful insights into how we're all getting on in MedComms in these strange times. So thank you very much for watching. Do please come along to medcommsnetworking.com if you want to see what else we're doing, and take care. Cheers.